So what is, oops, sorry. So accountability matters. What is a standard? It's a knowledge or perimeter that everyone knows and can rely on. What is a standard specific to education? It's that individual bit of knowledge that needs to be transferred. Oops, it stopped again, Nancy. I don't know what you hit, but okay, there we go. So what are the three important indicators of good standards? Darn. If the standards were handed to an educator, can they reasonably understand what needs to be taught? If the standards were handed to a student, could they reasonably learn the information on their own? And if the standards were handed to a healthcare employer, could they indicate healthcare competencies desired by the healthcare career? So where do standards fit in the education pyramid? If you look at this pyramid, you'll see that standards are at the bottom. They're the foundation for all aspects of education, and they set the goal. It is the standards that build the materials for instruction. And those instructional materials and the standards then enable the teacher to teach to those standards and the set of outcomes that those standards ask for. And then lastly, you assess, did the student learn it? And did they meet the goals of each standard? So do I need to improve? Do I need to remediate? So this educational pyramid answers these four education questions. What do I need to teach today? How am I going to teach it? How do I know students learned it? And what do I teach next? Do I remediate or do I move on to the next subject? So we're going to start first with, what am I going to teach today? The National Health Science Standards provide this framework for what you're going to teach, both secondary and post-secondary. The standards cover the essential knowledge and core expectations most workers need to succeed in the healthcare careers. These standards allow clear directions for the students and for the educators, as well as they provide the framework on which to design curriculum and assessments. Here are the 11 standards. Hello? Academic foundations, communications, systems, employability skills, legal responsibilities, ethics, safety practices, teamwork, health maintenance, technical skills, and information technology in healthcare. These 11 standards are embedded in any healthcare profession, whether it's nursing, radiology, pharmacy, whatever that profession.
Cindy, it might
Yes.
be important to say here that these 11 broad foundational standards transferable to many health professions, these have never changed. I believe the last refresh, this was just information technology, and there were some objectives under there that we realized were really being taught in middle school or even elementary school about a Word doc and that kind of thing. So we did change that a little to make it information technology in healthcare, but we've kept these pure from the time they were first revealed in 1992. But what changes when they're refreshed are the objectives or the statements underneath there.
Okay, yes. And I'm getting a little background noise, so if anybody has their mic open, that might be contributing to that. I'm not sure. But yes, thank you, Nancy, for those comments. So again, Nancy referred to this extensive review that we did this past spring. And there were over 21 states that engaged in this massive survey. There was over 38 healthcare disciplines that were represented, and they were all over the board. It was so varied. And it covered, I think for the first time I noticed, we had some representation in mental health that I think is so, so important, as well as public health. We had a lot of business and industry, which is so important today. We definitely had the usual secondary and post-secondary. And overall, just as Nancy said, very little change. We had an endorsement approval of 98.59%, so 98.6% endorse these National Health Science Standards, which is a feather in our cap. There was very little change to content. There was definite updating of some words and phrases. Self-care was a big new term, as well as some employability. I don't want to call them buzzwords, but important concepts that were added to the standard 4. So as I said, not a huge change in content, as well as more of an updating for the relevancy of some of the words used, as well as punctuation and grammar. So a huge validation that this has been the correct standards, and that they still are very relevant in today's healthcare environment. I think anything else I want to say on that. Either way, they were unveiled in September, and as Nancy said, we are still updating everything to the website. Anyone that participated in the survey received in late August the updates so that they could see that their voices had been heard. We had a committee of 5 who looked at the extensive comments that were made and reviewed them and decided as a group whether they needed to be implemented or they were already evident in the 11 standards. So again, a very ambitious and exhaustive task, but we're very proud of it. So based on those 11 standards, it became very obvious to us a couple of years ago that to teach to all 11 standards and do it in a very rigorous, high quality way really required a 2-year program commitment. And when I did a very informal evaluation at HOSA 2 years in a row, most students either were in a 4-course, 2-year health science program or a 1-year. And so knowing we had a lot of variability of health science programs and what they look like, the consortium developed a 4-course curriculum framework that broke down these 11 standards into more manageable courses. The first 2 are introductory courses that is required by Perkins to have 2 introductory courses. That's the foundation of healthcare professions and essentials of healthcare practices. Human structure, function, disease A and B are your more rigorous, and where you will see the programs deep dive into specific healthcare areas such as nurse aid, medical assisting, EMT, farm tech, etc. So these are examples and are available for your use as you see fit. This is a framework, how the curriculum framework is broken down between the 4 courses and the 11 standards. So you can see which standards are offered in which of the 4 courses.
Cindy, I also put in the chat where we have this content broken down into each of these 4 courses. So it's just on our website at healthscienceconsortium.org, and then curriculum and then framework. If you're interested in seeing more detail than Cindy's able to share on her screen there.
Right. And this was trying to give you an essence of everything that's offered in a minimum number of PowerPoint slides. The other thing the consortium has on the website is a curriculum crosswalk that is also being updated and on the website, where we want to make sure that you didn't have to reinvent the wheel, where you could take this 4-course template. It's available in PDF and in Word. And when you use it in Word, you can actually copy and paste and put it into a curriculum crosswalk for your program and your course design. You can deep dive a little further and actually copy and paste this information and make your course content outline. And you can see on the course outline for this course that it is identified which standards are taught in each section. Just trying to make it a little easier for all of you because we know, wow, how busy you all are.
Cindy, I'll mention here that I'll put in the chat where you can find that crosswalk, because some teachers, and even Cindy and I are former classroom teachers a few years ago, but sometimes you look at those standards and they're kind of overwhelming. I mean, it's 12 pages and you think, do I teach all this? And so it really, that crosswalk allows you to say, yeah, I do teach that in this course and this course. And we've had teachers to say, wow, I was surprised. I really do cover all the National Health Science Standards in my health science education program. We did have a request from some teachers to say, we really would like the standards in Excel format. And so we were able to get that accomplished yesterday. So the standards are available in Excel. You can email me if you need that now. But we will also post it on the website. So it'll be there as a resource for those of you who that would be beneficial. Okay, I just put an email address there if you're interested in the Excel before we can get it on the website. Okay, back to you, Cindy.
Excellent. So yes, so we just talked about what am I going to teach? You're going to teach to the 11 health science standards. And so then we go to the next question. Well, how am I going to teach it? And so I want to mention at this time that you're always going to base everything on your health science textbooks. And what I want to really champion is that the National Consortium for Health Science Education has this unique partnership with health science publishers, and it's called the Publishers Coalition. But you can also find them on the website and look at all their offerings for their health science textbooks and other teaching aids. They make sure that their textbooks embed all 11 of the standards in all their text. And it's just a wonderful relationship and a very rare relationship. So I want to do a shout out to all the publishers that are involved with the consortium, because they are very, very clear that they adhere to the 11 health science standards. So moving on, I'd also like to feature today the consortium resources that are offered to teachers and to the state leads. I'm going to talk about the NCHSE enhancements. I'm going to talk about the Health Science Education Association, I should say, a Wednesday webinar, of which this is one of them. It's great for professional development and for going to the webinars that help you answer that question, how am I going to teach it? And I can't say enough about the NCHSE conferences that are held every year. And Nancy said the one that's held in Charleston, October 25th to the 28th of this year. It is a conference for health science with the health science teachers as its focus, and it's wonderful. You walk away with a lot of ahas and a lot of techniques on how you're going to teach it and how you're going to enhance your health science programs. So speaking of the enhancements, I'm going to show you just quick little example of what the enhancements can offer you. I just picked a standard 9, health maintenance practices. This is the standards directly copied from the standard spreadsheet that Nancy talked about. You can see the major statement and then the subcategories under there. Promote behaviors of health and wellness. You see your exercise, your nutrition, your relationships. Examine various aspects of behavioral health. Okay, anxiety, depression, substance abuse, suicide. I mean, some things we don't love talking about, but that are important to teenagers and to young adults. So this is the actual standard that you need to teach too. And so the assessments, the enhancements, I didn't show you the table of contents, but this is showing you that when you go to this standard 9, you can see that there's presentation PowerPoints, outlines, content outlines, other teaching assistance that you might need. And I just copied one of the slides from one of the PowerPoints. I think I liked it because it featured a couch potato. And I am somebody who would identify as a couch potato, but this is just part of the PowerPoint that addresses the exercise piece of this of standard 9. It's an complete PowerPoint and it's available for you as part of the enhancement that you can use or change according to your needs. The other thing that the enhancements have are videos. They have activities, they have assessments, and I just copied and pasted the list of some of the activities surrounding vaping. Vaping is a huge national issue for young adults and how it affects development and their health. And you can see how that and it did not copy all the links when I did the cut and paste, but it shows you all the different ideas for how you can engage your students on learning about vaping and how it affects their health and their health maintenance. It's a wonderful tool. Another thing that I want to say about the enhancements is that they were developed by health science teachers for health science teachers. Another way you can engage your student in teaching to the standards is HOSA, competitive events. Here is a crosswalk of HOSA competitive events, and it crosswalks to which standard is addressed in each of these events. You want to engage your students. Nothing works better than competitive events and a chance to be involved and participate in a regional, state, or national HOSA conference. It's just a great motivator. The other resource I spoke to was the Health Science Educators Association. There's approximately at least 2,000 health science teachers that belong to this and who share their best practices. It's got a great bank, I would call it, of teaching tools and aids such as what the enhancements provide for all of the standards and for teaching health science in your classroom. So that's another wonderful resource that I can highly recommend. And so again, as I try to keep current of the time is, all right, now the next question, how do I know they learned it? And so here comes the accountability matters and the issue of how do I know that they learned it is the certificates. The consortium offers an end of program certificate that covers all 11 standards, and then certificates that are based on that 4-course curriculum framework that I addressed previously. The importance of the role of certificates is they validate learning. They gather that relevant information about student performance progress and inform the classroom instruction. They communicate to others the evidence about the learning process and provide accountability. And they also offer assessment to be effective and useful, targeted, and sustainable. So what I'm showing you here is, of course, data makes a difference, but it's that accountability. You see the front of the end of program certificate, and then you see the back. And on the back is listed all 11 of the health science standards. When I presented this, I actually had a certificate with me when I went to a national conference and was seated next to a president of a huge human resource department of one of the largest healthcare conglomerates. And I showed this VP president, I said, okay, does this certificate of proficiency mean anything to you? And I showed her the front. And she said, well, not really. And so I flipped it to the back and I said, now does it mean anything? And she looked at those 11 standards and what document of learning that this addressed. And she said, absolutely. whoever came to apply for a job and showed me the certificate listing the back of what their knowledge covered, they would gain extra points into hiring for my organization. So the certificate documents that student learning, it informs the classroom, and it answers the Perkins 5 requirement for that data-driven assessment. I always say, you can't manage what you can't measure. It's a great saying, and it's accurate. You cannot rely on anecdotal evidence. You have to have that data. Here's the blueprint of the end of program certificate that I was just showing you. It shows you the total items per standard, the total points per standard, and then the total percentage points. And as you see, academic foundation, which is what your human anatomy and physiology section, has the heaviest amount of points, as it should. It's the most extensive and rigorous part of all of our standards. They are all equally important, but it gives you the layout of the land. The other thing I cannot say enough about is that when you engage in any of these certificates, whether it's the end of program over the 11 standards or the end of course, which is more specific to just a group of the standards, is that you get immediate feedback. It is not a high stakes assessment. It speaks to the students' knowledge. And I just put up here is the performance by standard for the last 5-year average. And I didn't give you a definition of the X's or the checks. I just want to ask all of you, when you look at these, do you think the checks were the high performing standards, or do you think the X's were the highest performing standards, 3 standards, 5-year average on the?
They can put that in the chat if they want to. Cindy.
Yeah, put it in the chat. Just take a second and see.
Tell us what
I will tell you the end, but I'm going to give you a minute. The highest performing, is it academic foundation, systems, and technical skills? Or is it employability, teamwork, and information technology?
So which one do you think are the highest, the checks or the X's?
And I can't see the chat, so
Okay.
either way, I'm hoping
It
everybody,
looks like it looks like we're getting sort of even.
even interesting.
Maybe
I
maybe a few more checks. I hadn't counted them, but you ready to reveal?
Yes, and before I reveal, I will say that I did all the data for my Colorado health science programs. And before I reveal that, I asked my teachers, what's the #1 performing standard? And they all almost unanimously said, oh, it's academic foundations. It's what we love. It's what we teach to. And it was not. It's one of the lowest. The highest is employability, teamwork, and information technology. And at the time, systems was the very lowest because what did it tell us? Nobody taught it. Nobody liked it. It was boring, and they skipped it. They left it for the end, and if they ran out of time, they didn't teach systems at all, and so therefore lowest performing. So tell the story behind the data. Whenever you share data, you have to make sure you give the background. And so I just shared that 5-year average, and we really want academic foundations. We want them all to be top performers. But when we talk about concurrent enrollment and we talk about rigor and high quality, we really want that all of them to be at a 70% or higher. And so the story behind the data, when I went out and about and met with teachers, is that the success of the student in earning a certificate depends on so many factors. Was there a review conducted prior to the student sitting for the exam? Did you go over everything, or had it been months since they had looked at academic foundations or systems or health maintenance? Does the student have skin in the game? Do they care how they perform on this certificate exam? And does the certificate weigh in as part of the course's final grade? If it has some value, you will see the performance be affected. When students have skin in the game, they're going to devote more time to make sure that they succeed. And then the third theme of Perkins, partnership is key. There's a huge piece on stakeholders and being data-driven. And what I will say is your program is only as strong as your partnerships, and your partnerships are only as strong as your advisory committee. And advisory committees, we know everybody's really, really busy. We also know that Carl Perkins Act requires that 51 or 53%, I can't remember, maybe it's 51% of your committee be business and industry. They're busy. We're all busy. And in order for your advisory committee to be successful, you've got to engage, you've got to provide data, and you've got to partner. So I'm going to talk about how the standards-driven curriculum and programs answer this call to having a very exciting advisory committee. This is a page from U-Science, previously known as Precision Exams. But what the consortium also provides is a free 30-question test. And it's based on the 11 standards. And I started my advisory committee, the first meeting, as everyone sat down, we greeted each other, we did our introductions, and then I gave them the test. And I had them at hello, because they could see the rigor that the students experienced when they sat for these certificate exams. You find that certificate exam on this U-Science page, and it shows an arrow. If I could have shown it on my screen, you just scroll down and oops, you see the next thing that, oh, there, NCHSE practice exam. So there it is, free 30 questions. I don't know how I did that. So I need to go back. This is challenging. I need to get out of that. Okay, so here we go to my next one. Oops. Where'd it go? No, it just did it again. Start it over. I must have hit a live link. Okay. And I'm still sharing, correct?
Yes.
Darn it.
Yes, you are. Okay.
Yeah, it's not letting me go to the next one. It immediately takes me to precision exams. We've been grabbed by precision exams.
Okay, hold on.
So you're trying to go to the next slide?
I am.
You can, if you in the show, and then you can find the slide that you want, if it's not moving the way you want it to. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to like right click in the PowerPoint and then find the slide that you want and click on that one. Right. So in the show,
And
Yeah.
show, I see it.
okay.
All
Now
right.
pick the slide that you like.
You are awesome.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm
So
glad I'm able to help. Thank you. Mhm.
You are play from the current slide. Okay. So the next step I'm going to say is, I always say, share your data and engage your partners. And so you're going to speak to what's current in your community. And you're going to use data because data drives decisions. So I thought, okay, what's happening in Denver? Do we need a lot of nurse aides? Do we need EMTs? So I went into some of the employment statistics and the issues that surrounding Denver. And it wasn't that we needed those professions. What was more important was the unemployment rates for Denver. And this shows several years starting in 2010 and shows a differentiation in unemployment with people that had less than a high school diploma, and then with some college or associate degree and some bachelor's degree. The yellow is showing you when the pandemic hit. Well, when you look at this data, you can see that anybody that had extended post-secondary education didn't suffer nearly as much in unemployment as the people that did not have additional college and post-secondary training. And so this answers the Perkins 5 equal access, because the purpose of Perkins is to offer high rigor career tech educational programs so that it enhances our economy. So taking that information, I then pursued CTE in Colorado. And what I would have shared with advisory committee is that health science programs they're the #1 certificate and degree seeking in the state of Colorado at the community college level. And that students that take CTE courses, again, that's another data table, but they are much more successful going to college than students that have had no CTE courses in high school. So it's a win-win, and you show the relevance of your health science education program to the community and to business and industry, because you know what's important and what they're dealing with. The other thing you need to share, again, about data is showing your program annual review, showing your goals for the program and how you meet them. And it can be whatever. This is just very general, but I have assure equal access to the program for all students and how you support student success, how you teach to the standards, how you are going to measure by how they perform on the end of program and end of course certificates, and that you have a benchmark that you want to meet in a time frame. Not only do I think you should show an annual program review, but you also should show, hopefully, the program's been around and it's successful, and that you can do a program 5-year review. This is an old radiology one that I used to use when I ran the radiology program for the Community College of Denver. And our goals were to have a 95% pass rate on the National Radiology ARRT exam. And here shows 5 years. I just did a cut and paste, but we exceeded it. We had a 98% pass rate. So that's why you see these percentages that are higher, because we met and exceeded it. Either way, it shows accountability and that it matters. And I want to start to wrap up this presentation today to say that the consortium is here for all of you. We offer these resources, professional development, networking. I talked about the National Health Science Assessments, enhancements, the curriculum, work-based learning. There's a work-based learning guide I did not speak to that's available. I do say go to the website and see all that's there. I did talk about the Wednesday webinars, the National Health Science Conference that's being held in Charleston. I also want to take a quick speak out to the certificate lab. If you're interested in seeing all the certificates that are available to students and you want to participate and take them, you can do that at the certificate lab, and it'll give you a good taste of what the students are experiencing. I also mentioned the Health Science Educators Association. It's a huge group, and it's, again, best practices. And how I would love to leave you all today is to tell you a story and about how you should tell the story about your program. When I first came to the Colorado Community College System office, I was a state advisor for HOSA. I didn't even know what HOSA was at that point. And I had to do the state conference, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I knew that we needed an opener. Just while students came in and filed in and sat down for the first session. And I just developed a competitive event that I made up, where I said each program would get a free registration if they did a 2-minute video about their program. the students and what they did and what they learned, their service learning projects, and how they impact their local community. And Roaring Fork Health Science Program in Glenwood Springs had a 2-minute video that was dynamite. They were all dynamite. I think I had 10, and it was the best looping, welcoming video ever for a state conference, as far as I'm concerned. Roaring Fork did this. They did a video with great music, and it showed the students practicing all their technical skills. It showed their service learning in the elementary schools, doing vision checks, etc. And then they went ahead and found students that had been part of the health science programs years before, and where they were located in the community, and if they were in health science practicing. And they found numerous students that they took the picture of, and the student held up a placard showing what they did, that they were a nurse in such and such hospital. Either way, I looked at this program teacher and said, you've got your advisory committee, aha. You just start your advisory committee meeting with this 2-minute video, and you've got them at hello. So if you want your program to look amazing, use all these building blocks. Because bottom line, as I said, data drives decisions. If you have a high quality program, if it's based on the health science standards, you cannot be denied. All of this that we've talked about today, this data that you culminate about your program successes, is what's going to be basing your administrators, your principals, your business and industry. They're going to base their decisions on your program and supporting your program about that story that you tell. And I want to leave you with, it's really all about student success. The high rigor and the high expectations prepares the students for success. And students who never thought that healthcare or college could be in their future can now see so many possibilities because of what you provide them in your health science programs. And making a difference with one will make a difference with many. So I can't thank you enough for joining me today, and Nancy and the consortium, and seeking to build your programs to be highly successful. So thank you very much. And I'm going to turn the screen back over to you, Nancy.
Okay, well, thank you, Cindy. You told us a lot in a short amount of time. I did. Anybody, you're welcome to unmute yourself if you have a question, or if you want to put something in the chat. There's a great presentation for you, Cindy, someone said. So Cindy is part-time staff for the consortium and does an excellent job with our certificate program. And then she took on this project of revising the standards. And we can't thank her enough for the quality work that she did. There's some thank yous there, Cindy. Any questions from the group? We have just a few minutes. You always love your professor who lets you out early, right? And we're worried about Vivian, because she sounds like her structure for the advisory council is a little different. And so you're welcome to reach out to us directly, Vivian, if we can be helpful to you. I mean, obviously we know that it sounds like there's some things with your administration that your advisory council may work a little different, or you may not know who your folks are, but we know that in our work-based learning guide, there's a great, a whole section about advisory committees and how to work with them. And you're welcome to, I put my email in there for you.
And honestly, advisory committees were my cat's meow. I just loved advisory committees. So if you have a problem or a question, I would love to hear from you, because I consider it a challenge. And as I say, your program is only as strong as your partnerships in your advisory committee.
And your advisory committees are going to be so impressed when you tell them that your program is based on the National Health Science Standards that have been validated by healthcare industry. These are industry standards. We know that you have state standards, and there's we hope that your states use these national standards to develop and design their curriculum But we think your advisory committees will be impressed that what a student learns in Texas is the same as what a student learns in New York if we're building consistency for the National Health Science Standards and for health. We really believe that we're working for the healthcare industry as well. Not just for education, but we're working for the healthcare industry. I know Gigi is raising her hand.
Yes, hello, my name is Janetta Mitchell from Columbia, South Carolina. And this has been a very timely presentation today because on next Wednesday, I actually get to meet with the advisory board, and I have actually invited quite a few people. So I took down a lot of notes, Ms. Cindy, from your talking points. Is there any place on the actual website that actually has some talking tips regarding what you were just saying? Is there a place on the website, or do I just need to replay this video again to hear what you just said?
I think I just misspelled website. I apologize. But what we'll do when we send out, when's your meeting, Miss Mitchell?
Next Wednesday
Next
morning, yes.
Okay. Well, you needed this before. So just email Cindy and she can send you this PowerPoint and
Yep.
maybe you can get some talking points from there. But we will post this PowerPoint presentation along with the recording. So you know, all what we have, we're welcome to share.
Thank you. And actually, at my school that I'm at, they actually asked for us to contribute to participating into the advisory committee and inviting people to come on board. So which is really good. So I'm looking forward to working with that committee.
And listen, they'll be so impressed with what goes on in your high school programs because some of them don't know. It's been a long time since they were in school. Some of this wasn't going on when they were, or they didn't have these same opportunities. So just wow them with all that you do.
You cannot be denied.
Thank you. And the good thing is I've actually asked 2 students to also do a presentation too. So we're going over like what they need to say and how they need to present the information and how they need to actually use their soft skills while they're presenting. So that's going to be a great opportunity for them.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great, hey, you got this. They love hearing from students more than they hear from you. It's just so impactful to have those students in front of them and sharing what the experiences that they're having. Well, thank you, everyone. I have 5:29. And so we appreciate those of you who were able to join us. I'm going to stop this recording and we will send